Not only is goaltending a very difficult position to play in hockey, but it's also the one with the least demand, as teams will only have 2 netminders on their respective roster at any given time, with an e-bug lurking somewhere in the stands just in case. Therefore, since the sport does call for more forwards and defensemen naturally, there tends to be much more controversy in net regarding who should be deserving of manning the crease. We've seen multiple cases over the years in which a fan base will tend to favor one goalie over the other, and in some cases, to extreme measures. In this video, we're going to go over a few times where one goalie was loved and embraced by a particular fan base, while the other was despised instead. Before we kick things off, I'd like to specify, in every instance I'm about to talk about, there's always some fans that support every player regardless. Therefore, I'm not saying everyone feels the same way. And with that, here are 3 times where fan bases loved one goalie yet hated the other. Before we get started, I'd like to mention first that this video is brought to you by HelloFresh. Looking back on the events that had to happen for the Matt Murray-Marc-Andre Fleury controversy to take hold in the Steel City is kind of baffling today when you think of it, meaning that it was almost like the perfect storm of events that came together in an intricate way to create the rift between much of the Pittsburgh Penguins fan base regarding who was in net. First, while Matt Murray was still a distant thought regarding anything to do with NHL hockey, the Pittsburgh Penguins drafted Marc-Andre Fleury first overall in 2003. Even though he did have his struggles, Fleury was embraced by the city of Pittsburgh as the franchise's goalie for multiple seasons. With his Stanley Cup under his belt from 2009, Fleury was likely confident that he would remain a Penguin for the entirety of his career. However, due to some events that took place beginning in 2016, that would soon all change. By the time the 2016 playoffs emerged, the Penguins' goaltending situation had taken an interesting turn. First, there was Mr. Game 1 himself, Jeff Zatkoff, who was in the mix as a secondary backup, and then there was Marc-Andre Fleury and Matt Murray. Murray, who was drafted by Pittsburgh 83rd overall in 2012, showed much promise as potentially being the goalie of the future. After developing quite a bit in Wilkes-Barre Scranton and playing a decent amount of regular season games, Murray made history as he became the youngest netminder at 21 years of age in franchise history to start in a postseason game. Due to Marc-Andre Fleury rehabbing from a concussion, Murray stepped in relief of Jeff Zatkoff. And as the story goes, Murray helped the Penguins capture their 4th championship while recording a .923 save percentage and a 2.08 goals against average. After sporting such remarkable numbers in the crease, Murray had helped create quite the controversy, which would mount the following season. As for the first time since 2008, Fleury was splitting a significant amount of time with his tandem partner. Instead of starting his usual 60 or so games, the Flowers' playing time was pretty much split down the middle instead. This, of course, provided even more speculation that there was indeed a chance that Fleury could be exposed in the upcoming expansion draft to Vegas. After the tables turned during the postseason of 2017, Murray was indeed the goalie injured, prompting Fleury to save the day instead. Well, after winning the Stanley Cup one last time as a tandem, the two were split up after Fleury was selected by the Vegas Golden Knights. And for some Penguins fans, the loss of Fleury allowed for even more distaste and even jeers when Murray himself began to struggle in the coming seasons. This and other factors came into play that caused the same thing to happen to Murray that once happened to his predecessor.
The crowd was pretty rough on you after the first couple. Did you hear it? Did you tune that out?
No comment.
And now, to a more recent bout of controversy regarding a goalie tandem, we'll be heading over to Leafland. Now, regardless of the position, the consensus is and has been that Toronto is one of the hardest cities to play in. But considering that being a netminder already comes with a lot of pressure to start, it's not a leap to say that being a goalie in that city could allow for some real mental strain. After having success in Orange County, after winning the Jennings Trophy, Freddie Andersen made his way north in 2016 after being traded to Toronto. And really, considering the huge workload that he had and the struggles battles his team had in front of him, Andersen's numbers weren't bad during his regular season tenure as a Leaf. However, at times when the goaltender struggled, the fans weren't shy at all about letting him hear it. By the time that Kyle Dubas traded for Jack Campbell last year, the running theme for Leafs fans seemed to be that Andersen was part of the reason as to why their team had failed to crack the second round. And similarly to Marc-Andre Fleury, Campbell was embraced by Toronto fans not only for his on-ice play, but also for his off-ice personality. Mix all of these elements together, add in Andersen's constant battles with injuries in his final season, and there's a recipe perfectly created allowing for Andersen to be more of a whipping boy than anything. Therefore, during the last offseason, the remedy, at least as far as Carolina and Toronto were concerned, was to simply swap netminders. In result, Andersen switched places with Peter Mrazek. Everyone has their own opinions on the matter of Andersen's play in Toronto. However, I think we can all agree that the move turned out to be the best thing for the Danish Tendy, as he's dramatically turned around his game while playing for a much smaller hockey market in Raleigh with some of the best numbers recorded in his career so far. Hey everyone, I promise we'll get back to the video here shortly, but first I have to tell you about HelloFresh. So I recently decided to try them out for the very first time and I was very impressed. They offer so many different options that never leave you bored with your meals. For instance, one of their newest releases include Mediterranean recipes that are filled with fresh fruit, vegetables, nuts, olive oils, and whole grains. My favorite meal so far was the honey mustard pork chops with the rice and broccoli. I don't consider myself the best cook at all, but each meal offers detailed directions and pre-portioned vegetables to make your meals easy to fix. If you're wanting to save time, leftovers, and money, HelloFresh is definitely the way to go. I'm always striving to eat healthy myself, and HelloFresh definitely allowed me to do just that. They offer veggie, pescatarian, and fit and wholesome meals to make it easy to stick to your goals if you're looking to lose weight or just maintain it. For me, I really enjoyed not having to worry about going to the store, and it was easier to plan because the portions were already predetermined for me. So if you want to give HelloFresh a try, just go to their website, hellofresh.com, and use my promo code AHOPE16, which will be featured on screen and below, for up to 16 free meals and 3 surprises. Again, that's hellofresh.com using AHOPE16 promo code to get up to 16 free meals and 3 surprises. And now, back to the video. Despite being drafted by the Quebec Nordiques in 1994, Bruins hockey was all that Tim Thomas came to know at the NHL level. And really, the goaltender was among the elite in the league during his prime, as Thomas captured 2 Vezina trophies by the time the 2011 postseason came around. After remaining in net for the full length of the Bruins' playoff ventures, Thomas won the Conn Smythe for his efforts, along with, of course, the Stanley Cup. For Tuukka Rask, however, who did get his name on the Stanley Cup regardless, this whole turn of events struck up immense controversy with Bruins fans. The animosity coming Rask's way seemed to be focused on the fact that Thomas had indeed led the team to its first Stanley Cup in almost 4 decades. This narrative hung over the city despite the fact that Rask also had proven himself to be one of the best league-wide in 2014 with a Vezina trophy in hand. It was so prevalent, Rask was even asked about it at one point by Boston media, and it was also addressed as well on the well-known Spit and Chicklets podcast upon Rask making his retirement announcement. For Rask, however, if it did bother him internally, the goaltender never let it show.
Get an unfair shake here in the city, like with the media and the fans. You think it will? Okay.
You would think, or at least hope, that after going through what Marc-Andre Fleury did in Pittsburgh, that it wouldn't happen to him again, meaning that he wouldn't be taken for granted and tossed aside for what appeared to management to be the better goalie. Following the Golden Knights' spectacular debut season, Fleury had become a household name in Sin City amongst the fanbase, and in an effort to strengthen their goaltending after moving on from the Malcolm Subban experiment, Vegas acquired Robin Lehner from Chicago. Around the same time, another change was made, but this time in the management side of the game, as Gerard Gallant was replaced by Peter DeBoer. Going into the 2020-21 playoffs, Vegas was looked at as having the best tandem in net, with a 3-time Stanley Cup champ in Fleury as a starter going in, and Robin Lehner as a supportive backup. The mindset going into the 2021 postseason was likely optimistic for the fanbase. But interestingly, DeBoer seemed to prefer Lehner in net over Fleury. and instead of having a 1A, 1B situation, the coach started Lehner in all of the round-robin games for the qualifiers. And in case anyone was speculating that Fleury was just resting up for the real thing, that hypothesis was quickly thrown out the window after Lehner got the nod in all 17 contests except for 3. This decision didn't sit well with fans at all, considering the fact that Fleury's regular season numbers were significantly better. With 6 shutouts on the season, Fleury at the time was already in the Vezina conversation. And you may be asking yourselves at this point, but Alyssa, where do the fans come into this? Well, it just so happens that Fleury, despite being one of the nicest, most easygoing players in the league, he had and still has an agent that was willing to stir the pot on social media. Alan Walsh, who had spent time as a prosecutor prior to becoming a player agent, tweeted out an image of his client getting stabbed in the back by a sword with the words "de Boer" on them. Lehner was outspoken about the graphic and, according to TSN, said, quote, "Fleury didn't do anything. It was his agent. If he wants to look unprofessional, go ahead. He looks terrible." End quote. This, of course, struck up immense controversy amongst the fan base, and things only became worse after Bill Foley and company decided to trade Fleury to Chicago to keep Lehner as their starter instead. Lehner didn't shy away from trying to combat the criticism he received on social media and gave multiple statements regarding the situation. Even though the flower has been gone at this point for some time, Vegas fans such as this one right here are still outspoken regarding their dislike for the man that they call Panda.